Welcome back, it's Chris from the Hagon factory. So this week we're back onto the 350 Velocette engine that my father Alan's building for Ian McLeod. It's coming up fantastic, so there's a few more tips and tricks there. So let's have a look.
Okay, all right. So we've moved on a bit with this. We've actually fitted the cylinder head with a new gasket, a copper gasket this time, not a brass one, nicely annealed one. And I've made up this pushrod tube here, which I hope won't leak oil.
That's nice.
I've machined this up and I've O-ringed it in there and there, and pushed it over there. I've made it so it's a fairly tight push.
Yeah, fantastic.
It'll go over there now. Another thing that was missing out of this bike was this little gadget.
Was that the guide for the
That's
push rods?
Yeah, that's the push rod separator. That goes up there. Just keeps the push rods apart if there's any issues.
Yep.
Okay, so I've made up some little gaskets to put up there and put one each side of that.
Yes.
And that's how that goes. Now, we'll go down here to where we've been before, and we'll have a look at this important little thing here. It's the left-hand crankshaft nut, as we've spoken about before, and this is this little tongued washer, which I'll put it on my hand. You might be able to get a shot of it. You might even be able to see the little tongue in it.
Yeah, we can see the tongue on that. Yeah.
Can you? Right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's the little tongue washer, and that goes in that what looks like a keyway on there, which it's not really. It's only purely for this.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't do anything else. So that goes on. And then we put the left-hand nut on. And then we've got to just tighten that up. And theoretically, because that washer can't turn, because of that little tongue, the nut can't come undone, which is quite often the case.
So you don't knock that over or anything? It just
No,
locks up against the washer?
Locks up against the washer.
Yeah, okay, yep.
And that's all you do with that, okay?
Yes.
I've had a bit of a look at the rocker gear. These casings, the rocker casings and everything, all the little bits are all very good. Quite nice in here, where the rockers run.
Yep.
Quite often they've got little scrape marks on them that doesn't seem to matter at all. But these are good. I've got the top one over here. There's the top one. And the bolts that hold it down. See, that one's they've got little scrape marks in it, but that's nothing. Probably just helps hold a bit of oil. That just goes on there like so. It just goes on there. And the rockers fit in here like so. And the push rods come up through that hole there. So that's how they work.
Yep.
Quite simple.
Hole, yeah.
Quite simple. That's where the push rods go up through the bottom there, up that tube. And this little fella goes on the top here. And when you tighten that down, they should still move all right. Now, someone in their wisdom had actually put a gasket in there, which you don't do on these. You just put some sealer on. So they put a gasket in there, which would have made these flop around a bit. Well, where we'll be up to next is when I actually put the rocker gear on, the push rods and everything in, then we'll get into the valve timing.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a degree disc, which I've got a little adapter that goes on the end of the crankshaft. And we'll just have a bit of a look, because quite often the timing marks are not quite exactly where they should be. And if you actually dial the cams in with the degree disc, you'll find that, it's quite often a tooth, maybe even two teeth out sometimes.
Yeah. Well, we did have one that had an extra tooth, didn't we, on the 500?
Yeah,
it was gaining time.
That was an early, yeah. It was until the valve hit the piston.
Yes.
Luckily, we were only winding it over by hand.
Yeah.
But that came about because the crankshaft pinion down the bottom here, the little one,
Yes.
They made those in a few different sizes.
Yep.
The very, very early ones had an extra tooth or two teeth, and of course, as we were winding it over, the timing's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I had never actually seen one of those pinions with the extra tooth on it, but I found one by accident. So
Yeah, well, I hope you marked it or got rid of it.
I've gotten rid of it, and I know what it looks like. They're a little bit different shape on the back.
Yeah,
Those
okay.
have got like a scallop in the back,
Yep.
and the other ones have got a square
Yeah,
in
right.
the back.
Yep.
So
Okay.
we'll work that out. Now, push rods. Another thing here that I found that I don't really like these. I've never ever seen solid steel push rods in a Mac Velo.
They're solid.
Well, they'll be almost solid. They've
Almost
only got a
solid.
little hole for the little pin on the bottom of those.
Yeah,
to go.
okay. Yep.
But MSS Velos, the old cast iron MSS Velos, they all seem to have steel push rods for some reason. So these are out of an MSS. I just about bet on it. And somebody's pounded that one with a hammer and it really done a number on
Did a
it.
bit of a job on it, yep.
So it's not very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace these. I'm going to make up a pair of aluminium push rods for it. I'll get these ends out and I'll put them into some aluminium push rods
And we've used those,
like these.
the aluminium ones before in the 500 and the
Oh, no
350,
problem. Yeah, no, you can make them up. You can buy solid aluminium in that size down at the aluminium shop.
And we actually got some that was already bored.
We did, actually.
Yes, we did buy a length of that and it was already bored. So you've probably got a length of that around here somewhere.
Yeah, I've only got to find it.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Yep.
But anyway, if I can't find some, I'll go and get some. And we'll make some new push rods to replace these things that have had a lot of hammer treatment over the years. But once we get around to doing the valve timing, and then we'll just set the ignition, and then away we go. Should be good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, should be all good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
You better have a look for that, the tube. It was bored.
Yeah, okay.
So
yeah,
we had a length of it, but it could be anywhere, couldn't it?
it could be here somewhere amongst the wreckage.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it would be, actually.
Excellent.
I had a little half-hearted look before. I couldn't find it, but
Yeah.
no, it'll be here.
No worries.
All right.
Thanks for that. So tell us what you're making.
Oh, yeah. I'm making a new set of push rods for Ian's Velo, because the old ones, I thought they were MSS Velo ones, but when I pulled them out and had a look at them, I think they were something out of an old car.
Okay.
So I don't think they weren't any good anyway. They were bent and they made out of a lump of just about solid steel, so they would have been far too heavy.
Yes.
But I'm making some new alloy ones,
Excellent.
and they'll do the trick. So these are the push rods that I'm making for Ian's bike. That's a standard, pretty much a standard length one, out of just an ordinary old standard Mac. Now, because of the higher compression, because we've shortened the cylinder and everything, we've got to shorten the push rod accordingly. But the ratio doesn't always come with how much you take off the barrel and how much you take off the push rod, because who's saying the push rods were right anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
So what we've got to do is, when you do these, you've got to set the valve lifter on the back of the cam to get it at its lowest point. Then what we've got to do then is we've got to pop the rocker arm on there like that and make sure it's sitting down in the bearing, bearing hole. And then we've got to make sure it's got a bit of tappet clearance, which this one will have. This is a little bit there. I'm going to actually take a little bit more off that.
Yep.
Just to get a bit more. But see, this angle of the valve,
Yes.
the angle of the rocker's actually got to be a little bit higher.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. The rocker's got to be a little bit higher, and when it's dead in line, that should be at half valve lift,
Yep.
or near as you can get it.
Yeah, okay.
And that gives you a good bearing on the top of the valve, because you can see that this one here, we've looked at this one before, see it's mutilated because it's been banging,
hammered to death, yep.
it's been hammered pretty hard. But I've got some more of those, so we'll pop them on. But I'll just set these up And once we set these up, we can bowl the rockers and everything on, put the push rods in and so on, and we can dial in the cam timing.
Excellent.
And then we can have a bit of a look at the electrical timing.
Have you got the old push rods there? Got an old one? Got to compare the new one to the old one in length?
Bent like a banana.
Yes.
It's pretty bad, and I don't know what these ends are out of, but you can see how big of a hole they've machined in there to make them fit.
Yes, okay.
So it's never been right from the start, and
Yep.
they're quite heavy still.
Yep. And what's the length difference on that one?
Compared to the one I've done.
Yeah. I know you've taken a bit off the barrel, but...
Whoop! I have, but those probably go from there. See, they've been miles too long still, you see?
Yeah, yeah.
So they would have been on some weirdo angles. Yeah, all right, so we'll see how these go.
Excellent. I know, same as every other week. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell everyone. Let's bring Hagons back.